Hi everybody, it's Laura, and today we are going to make a sock owl, and that is why we need those buttons. I really love buttons. And so what you need is a sock, preferably a patterned sock, and you're going to cut off the leg and part of the foot and just keep the toe portion. And you can make it a tall owl or a short owl, it does not matter. I just used a pair of scissors to cut that off, and then I thought I'd get artsy and I would make it look like the owl has the little horns like a horned owl by curving that cut. So you also need a bit of felt or fabric that is in a color that will work for a beak. So I am going to cut him a little beak like this out of this felt. If I can use scissors, we'll see. And we'll use glue to stick the eyes and that beak on the owl. What we're going to do first, before we stuff our owl, is use a needle and thread to sew the top closed or almost closed. I just used a simple blanket stitch for this. I think I've shown you how to do that before on a tutorial, and you can use any kind of stitching you want. I'll link my easy sewing tutorial below because you'll want to use the easiest way for you, and if this isn't a way you know, then just do the easiest thing. You can even use glue if you want, but you're going to want to leave a space at the edge so that you can stuff the owl completely with the stuffing of your choice. I'm using Polyfill, which is just polyester filling. You can get it at Walmart, but you also can choose to fill your owl with something you have around the house, like rice or maybe some beans, uncooked of course, like dried beans, or some other dry grain type thing, something very easy for you. Whatever's least expensive. You don't need to buy a whole bag of Polyfill for this if you've got rice around the house. Or beans. A lot of us bought beans at the beginning of the pandemic, so maybe you've got a bag of those still sitting around that you can put to work. So I have sewn almost half of that. We'll get the filling in, and then I will show you how to keep going. With Polyfill, you want to tear it apart a little bit to fluff it up and not just grab handfuls and shove it in, because that will make it not as even of filling. You don't have to worry about that, obviously, if you use a different kind of filling. In desperation, I once used cotton balls to fill something. Just tear them apart the way you do with Polyfill. They will flatten over time, but if you just have something you want to make as a joke, like I did at the time, just use what you have. Now, most of you will have gotten a kit for this, but I did not include stuffing because there's just no way for me to guess how much you're going to need. So I assume you'll use what you've got on hand at home. But you'll have gotten a sock, you'll have gotten thread, basic things to work with. And if you're in a position where you don't have a filling and you need one, we do have Polyfill at the library, so if you want to swing in, we will help you finish this project. Just go ahead and glue on your owl's eyes and nose and come in, and then we'll fill it up. Now when you get to the end, you're going to want to tie a knot or sew back and forth at the edge a few times to make sure that this doesn't come unraveled. I did not leave myself enough thread for this, so ignore how I finished it, which is not well. I ended up using a dab of super glue to hold everything together, which you can always do if you have some of that around and you are afraid that your knot is not going to hold. I used hot glue for this next part. If you don't have hot glue at home, you can use whatever glue you have. Just don't use Elmer's if you have any other option. E6000 works, super glue works. You can even sew the buttons on before you stuff the owl if you'd like to. Because they're buttons. They're meant to be sewn. I just cheated because why not? And the goal for this is to have the buttons kind of look a little off center, a little weird. I picked ones that didn't match and that weren't the same size because I thought that that would be cute and funny. And you don't have to stick to neutral buttons if you get your kit and think, but I have like neon buttons I want to use. Pull out the buttons you have and use the ones you have that you think will be fun. This is just about having a good time. That's why I used a thread to sew the top of this owl that was going to stand out a little bit because I thought it would be funny. A different shade of blue. And that is literally how you make your owl. That's all it takes. So I hope you enjoy making one.